All right, welcome to Digital Tools for Teaching. My name is Jamie Copes. I am a manager of digital literacy and tutor training at Wisconsin Literacy. Every month we do this series, Digital Tools for Teaching, and this month our topic is passwords. Here's the agenda for this webinar. First, I want to talk a little bit about passwords and how it relates to teaching digital resilience. And then I will share some resources and tools that you can use with adult learners to teach passwords. And finally, we will end with just a quick explore and report. All right, digital resilience. I think digital resilience is the ultimate skill that we can teach adult learners, even before we think about what other digital skills we can teach. Here is a great plain language definition from TIDE, which is Transforming Immigrant Digital Equity, a project of world education. So they define digital resilience as the digital skills and confidence that people need to use new and changing technologies. Digital resilience is important because technology is changing every day and we need to learn how to use it and be flexible. So the digital resilience, before it's a digital skill, it's more about our attitudes and our approach to learning digital skills. When I talk about digital resilience with tutors, I try to name these 5 strategies as ways that we can teach digital resilience. So the first one is just for you yourself to be a model. Can you be calm, curious, and collaborative about learning new technology? The second strategy is to make sure that digital learning is hands-on. So whatever you're demonstrating on a device, make sure that a learner can also practice on their own device. The third strategy is to teach skills that transfer across contexts and devices. And the fourth is to teach problem solving. And finally, the fifth is to celebrate success. When I think about passwords and the skills involved in creating passwords, remembering passwords, and managing passwords, I think that strategies 3 and 4 are going to be really important. And they are how we can teach digital resilience as it relates to passwords. So if you'll join me right now, I created a virtual breakout game in the spirit of passwords and unlocking things. And this virtual breakout room is meant to highlight how we can teach transferable skills and problem solving as it relates to online passwords. If you're joining me in a recording, you're watching this as a video, you are welcome to scan this QR code and access this virtual breakout room yourself. You can also come along with me and I will show you how the game works. The game is built with Flippity, which is a free resource. It has lots of different templates for creating online activities. This one is the virtual breakout room. So you can see there are 6 padlocks here. They represent 6 questions that I could use with a learner to talk about passwords and how to teach digital resilience. When you start the game, you click on a question and then the game starts to time you. So also it's fun to see how quickly you can do it. So question 1, what shape is used to represent and hide the characters in a password? You'll see here this key means the answer. So we're going to type in the answer, but the light bulb icon is a hint. So if we click on that, if we're not sure how to answer this question, we get this image here. So what shape is used to represent and hide the characters in a password? We could call that a circle or we could call it a dot. And you hear the unlock, it turns green, and so we're good to go there. Question 2. What icon can you click to unhide your password to check if you typed it correctly? Again, I can look at this image, and this is the icon we're talking about here, this eye. And that also was correct. So even though it's timing me, I'm going to stop and take a minute to explain that those 2 questions were about icons. And icon recognition is a skill that transfers from context to context and device to device. So as we're teaching about passwords, teaching learners to identify these icons will help build their resilience as they use passwords across devices and contexts. A sentence-like string of words that is longer than a traditional password, easy to remember and difficult to crack. We have a hint here, a little visual explanation of a password versus a passphrase. So a password is one word, a passphrase is a string of words, sunny, bay, sunshine. So passphrase is the answer here. And another way to teach resilience is to teach strategies for building strong passwords. A question you can click on to reset your password. So this is really about problem solving. The biggest problem with passwords is that we forget them all the time. So what do you do when you forget? You can use this hint here for the visual. Often sites across contexts and across devices will use this question, and you'll click on it to reset your password. Forgot your password? Instead of writing them down on paper, you can use this digital tool to remember all of your passwords. So another way to problem solve is a password manager. And last question, what key must you use on a computer keyboard to type an uppercase letter or a symbol such as the @ sign? We have a hint here for a visual. It's the Shift key simultaneously with that number 2. This is a good lesson to teach resilience, particularly if you have learners who are digital beginners, so they're not familiar with the keyboard, and they're going to need to use special symbols or uppercase letters when they create passwords. So you may have to back up and teach some typing foundational skills as well. All right, we did it. Thank you for following along. It took us 3 minutes and 40 seconds with my extra explanations. You have access to this game again by scanning here. You will also have access to this in the handout that's linked in the video description below this video. If you want to use this game with learners, a way to share it is down here with this share icon. You'll click on that and you can copy the link here. You can also share the QR code with them here. So if you teach English language learners, you'll want to consider when it will be important to teach vocabulary for passwords versus just the skills of creating a password, managing passwords, and resetting passwords. It's important to remember as we teach digital skills that digital proficiency doesn't necessarily equal language proficiency. So you'll need to think about prioritizing. And you might want to consider, if you have an English learner, that it might be best to learn the digital skill first in their preferred language or their native language, and then the English vocabulary for that later. So as we continue in this webinar, I'll show you both resources that are in English, but also in multiple languages, if that's useful to you and a learner. Here's the first resource I want to share with you today. It is the Refugee Community Education Video Library. This is a fantastic resource created by Catholic Charities of Milwaukee, Wisconsin Literacy member. And they have all sorts of videos. Creating strong passwords is one topic, but they have multiple topics. And they've created videos in all of the languages you see here on the right. So again, in that handout linked below this video, you will have access to this video library. I'll just show you when you click on that link, It does take you to the whole library with lots of different topics by category. You can also see on the bottom in the tabs that I'm on the parent resource videos, but there's also a playlist by language, citizenship videos, and practice English videos. I'm going to do a bit of scrolling right now, quickly to get to this yellow digital literacy and social media topic. And here you'll see the How to Create Strong Passwords video playlist. So check those out in any language that's appropriate for you and a learner. A second resource are the DART lessons. DART is an acronym that stands for Digital Access and Resilience in Texas. This was a project, it's 19 lessons, that was originally commissioned by Tyson Foods to help their employees who were beginning English learners learn how to create an account and log in to a human resources tool. So they are 19 lessons. They integrate English language learning with those foundational digital skills, for creating and logging in and out of an online account. Specifically, lessons 7, 8, 14, and 15 of this curriculum deal with passwords. So again, you'll have this link in the handout. I'll show you how to navigate it. This is what you'll get. And on the left, you'll have the names of each of these lessons. So you can see lesson 7 is Introduction to Security. Lesson 8 is Strong and Weak Passwords. Lesson 14, Understanding Online Accounts. And lesson 15, Creating Strong Passwords. I'll just point out a couple of the really neat resources I see in these lessons. So if I go to Strong and Weak Passwords, I can get the whole lesson. I can also get the paper resources. So one interesting resource, especially if you are teaching English learners, is this passwords role play and the clarifying questions. So not often do we need to say our passwords out loud, but sometimes we do. And so we need to understand the language for how to say the passwords out loud. So this is a role play that you might use with students to do that. So student A is going to read the passwords, and then student B will listen and write them down. Another great resource in lesson 8, if I click on download the lesson, I'll get a PDF version. And you'll see that linked in the online resources for this lesson plan is a YouTube playlist called Strong and Weak Passwords. All right. So for some reason, the playlist here was not working for Strong and Weak Passwords, but it's also linked in lesson 7, Introduction to Security. So these were the videos I was thinking of. Strong and weak passwords, and then is the password strong or weak? So this first video, strong and weak passwords, will go over what makes a strong password. And then this video is a really nice check for understanding. So I'll play this video for you. And I can easily imagine using it with an English learner to check for understanding.
Is the password strong or weak? Is this a strong or a weak password? It's weak. It is too easy. Is this a strong or a weak password? It's strong. It is difficult to guess. Is this a strong or a weak password? It's weak. It is too easy. Is this a strong or a weak password? It's strong. It is difficult to guess. Is this a strong or a weak password? It's strong. It is difficult to guess. Is this a strong or a weak password? It's weak. It is too easy. Is this a strong or a weak password? It's weak. It is too easy. Is this a strong or a weak password? It's strong. It is difficult to guess.
All right, so in addition to some really great video playlists in the DART curriculum, there's also some fantastic paper-based activities for teaching passwords. Specifically in Lesson 15, Creating Strong Passwords, we have these handouts. So requirement for a strong password, 5 steps to a strong password, and substituting numbers and symbols for letters. This one I like a lot because if you think about how do I explain to somebody what symbols to use, especially somebody learning English, this breaks it down for you. So we get a chart here, and then we get an exercise and a planning sheet. So that was the DART curriculum, specifically lessons 7, 8, 14, and 15. Another resource that's great for using for teaching passwords to English language learners. A third resource, resources actually, are coming out of Canada and the Canadian government specifically. So this one, Safety in Canada, they created a video called How to Create a Strong Password. This one specifically is the clearest explanation I've seen of a passphrase. So how to use a string of words or a sentence to create a password.
Often, there is really only one thing standing between your sensitive information and criminals: your password. If they get it, they can get into bank accounts and private files and wreak havoc. For this reason, it's important to know what makes a password strong and secure. Chances are, you use passwords every day to open your computer, log on to your favorite websites, to get work done. The easy route is to have a simple password that works everywhere. Unfortunately, this can be a problem. Criminals are very good at guessing passwords. Some have computer programs that can make millions of guesses until something works. And if they already know information about you, it's even easier. Your job is to create a password that is very hard to guess. Here's how. Your first thought may be to use a pet's name, a birth date, an address, or parts of a phone number. These things are too easy for criminals to discover, so don't use them. Your password should not include information about you. Thankfully, there are ways to have memorable but hard to guess passwords. Consider this. In addition to single words, phrases can also be easy to remember. Maybe it's a favorite song lyric or quote. An example is, Jack and Jill went up the hill. That's easy to remember, right? Well, your password is there. It's the first letter of each word. In this example, this would be your password. That's not something that's easily guessed. Here's why. First, it's not in the dictionary. This makes guessing it harder. There are about 60,000 words in English. A computer can test out those words pretty quickly, so don't use them. But there's more. This password could still be stronger by adding uppercase letters, numbers, or special characters. So now this is a very strong password, but there's still a risk. If you write it down, be careful where you keep it. Be aware that someone can look over your shoulder or find it in your trash. Giving it to loved ones is also risky. They may not be as cautious as you are. Only you should know your password. Criminals may also try to fool you into handing it over via phone calls. Never tell anyone your password over the phone. And be careful when you get an email that asks for a password. It could be a scam. To help avoid problems, don't use the same password everywhere. That's like having one key that unlocks everything you own. The stakes are high if you lose it. Also, be careful if you use a computer that is not yours. Let's say you check email using a computer in a store, library, or computer lab. You log in, check email, and walk away. The next person to use that computer now has access to your email account and all the information in it. Always remember to log out of each site you visit on a computer that isn't yours. Passwords are an essential part of life online, and if we're not careful about keeping them secret, they can cause big problems. By understanding the risks and making passwords stronger, we can feel a little more secure.
All right, so that was just one of the resources coming out of Canada. They also have a Get Cyber Safe campaign, and you will have a link to that resource as well. If none of these resources will work for you or for a learner that you're working with, Digital Skills Library is a great database. It's an open repository of free adult learning resources for lots of different digital skills, including passwords. This is managed by World Education. And in just a minute, I'll show you, but you'll get a search box just like this, and you can search the word passwords or any skill that you're trying to find resources to teach. So here, I'll put in passwords. And then you can see it's pulling from all of the open education resources, the free resources that you can use to teach this skill. So digitallearn.org has one, Social Media Test Drive, Google Applied Digital Skills, and you can click on the resource to learn more, and then you just get a launch activity here. So again, Digital Skills Library is a great way to find other resources for teaching passwords. And finally, in our pursuit of teaching digital resilience, we always want to try to enable independence. So after I've taught you a skill, can you do it alone? And one way to make sure that that happens is to hand directions, a one-page guide to students that they can take with them to try later. So I do want to point out that Wisconsin Health Literacy has created several skill guides for foundational digital skills, and these can be found on our website. Here's a shortened version, so wislit.org/digital literacy resources. And there is one-page documents, front and back, but one-page documents in plain language to help somebody understand the skill of creating strong passwords. I can show you if you go to the website. There's lots of other digital literacy resources on this page, so scroll until you get to the other resources. So these are those digital skill guides, and you can see that they are offered in multiple languages as well. So the title of the skill guide will be your English version, and then the other versions are below it. So I encourage you to explore these resources. Reach out if you have any questions about them. Again, the way to access the resources is through the handout that is linked in the video description below this video on YouTube. And I welcome and invite you to join us next month. Our topic next month in October will be online reading collections. So there's lots of great online reading collections that allow you to find free reading material and relevant reading material for adult learners. So please join us on October 23rd from 11 to 12 p.m. Or you can always find the recorded version of these digital tools for teaching topics on our playlist. Thank you so much. Have a great day.